What's an LMI survey?
Low to moderate income.
If you're referring to my notes in the council packet, an LMI survey we must do every 3 years for our CDBG qualifications, so that we can apply for CDBG grants.
Okay.
And we're due to do it. It's roughly about 200 households have to be surveyed. You need an 80% return on those surveys to qualify. And then your results have to be 51% or higher L or A, well, low to moderate. Mean number needs to be 51%.
John, it was this month, wasn't it, that we met on Safe Routes to School? Yeah, we did have a meeting with the man from the DOT on Safe Routes to School to talk about the priorities from each community. And if you remember, we could be eligible for up to $250,000 grant for our school system. This is the combined school system to make the routes to school safe, and we all had to look around our community and prioritize where we wanted to spend the money. There's a community from SAC, or there's a committee from SAC, and there's a committee from Wall Lake, and there's a committee from Lakeview, and we're all working with the superintendent and this young man from the DOT. We have to get our information in, and it's July. There's a July deadline that we have to get it all together so he can formulate it and write the grant application.
And it sounded like we had more.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. He also stated that Sac City, I believe, or our schools had a better turnout, sending in the forms. All the kids' parents could the safe kids better, a lot better than Carroll. And I believe we were, what, number 2 out of all of them?
They did it at the conferences, the parent-teacher conferences, and we had a really good turnout for getting the surveys back in. Chris?
What's the nature of the data that you're collecting?
Actually, we went around and with that young man, and we looked at he had a map, and we had to identify what were the main routes for the kids to take to school. And then we identified where there weren't sidewalks, maybe where the signage wasn't good. This is the beginning. We're hoping to get more grants down the line. But then we had to prioritize, because each community, and one of our first priorities was to get the stoplights at the elementary school repaired so they work correctly.
All new. We're going to try to get
Right, and then also do something with, there's a place on Highway 20 down from the stoplight that's in the middle of the road, to get that corner somehow designated as a school crossing, because more kids are crossing there than are at the light.
by the rec
So those
center.
were 2 of our priorities, and then there's a lot of sidewalk. Either they aren't in existence or they need repair. That's kind of going to be one of the things at the tail end, and we were also going to look at maybe if the community was aware of it, we could get assistance in people helping tear up the sidewalks so that that cost would be defrayed without using this grant money, and then use the money to put down a new one. So there's all kinds of things being talked about at this point in time.
If you aren't able to get a grant for this, would you then pursue enforcing the ordinance that compels people to keep their sidewalks in good repair at their own cost? Is it important enough to do that?
It is important enough to do it.
Is that something, do you think, the council, or you would put on the agenda for the council to consider?
It certainly can be put on the agenda. It's up to the council to look it over and make that decision, not me, but it definitely is something we could look at and discuss.
I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's important enough to make it likely that you'll go down that road?
I think it's important enough to make sure that the routes to school are safe. I definitely do. And when all this data is all put together and we bring the report will probably be brought to this group. Move forward. Is there anything else to discuss?
I do have 2 more things under council forum.
Yes, item 6, council forum. I was just
Are we
getting
there
there.
now?
We're there now.
At the June 27th council meeting, we have a commitment from Joe Behrens from Region 12 to be here. He'll talk to us, provide us some education on how TIF districts work, the pitfalls of TIF districts, kind of give us an education, a little bit better education as a whole group. That way we can ask him questions. And I will be contacting the county, let them know that he'll be here, because I know that the county engineer was interested in possibly attending that night to hear what he had to say. Then,
And the Board of Supervisors as well?
correct,
Okay.
correct. And then, other than that, I had one other
Would
matter.
it be better just to have him up here just at a certain time to speak to the whole public, instead of just to the council?
Well, I mean,
The
as,
Board of Supervisors, engineers. I mean, you're talking about getting a crowd here. Why do it during the council meeting? Why don't you just do it?
If you get people to come. I mean, it could be announced that it was going to be at that time, and we could have the meeting at another place if we felt like this place wasn't large enough. But I think if we make it if we let people know that it's happening, they would have an opportunity to come if they were interested. Or would you like to see more done, Jim?
No, that's good, but I mean, information is good information to have, and I just wondered if it'd be good to just have a public meeting about it instead of having a council meeting. But whatever, if you want to have a council meeting, that's fine.
I'll bet that, yeah, I'd like to have, extra room for so much interest being shown, but I just suspect we're not going to have a plethora of people here beating down our doors to find out about TIF. But I'm certain, I hope
Maybe we
I'm
could-
proven wrong.
Write a little piece and put it on the website and put it in all the places where information goes out so that everybody knows about it?
Well, if you're going to do that, I'm sorry, man. If
Yes.
you're going to do that, maybe you could do a real Cliff Notes version of what TIF is, rather than trying to explain it in detail. Bottom line it for people so they know exactly how it will affect them. And maybe in that way you could get people interested. Don't show off how smart you are in the wording. Just tell people how it will affect them in plain words.
If we wrote an article for the paper or put it on something, I would suspect that's what I would want you to do.
I'm going to guess the Council of Governments probably has something like that, an information or fact sheet that. But we maybe should have some facts out there before the meeting comes so that they know.
So that they know they want to. I'm sorry.
When is the meeting?
the 27th of June.
Okay, so do we have a newsletter before then?
No.
Okay, could we make like some notes, like you post things? Could we make some notes about it and make a flyer or whatever? And
We can take some steps to get out there to the public.
okay,
If I wrote a brief letter to the editor, would that,
that'd be good.
would that be adequate to briefly explain what it is, Dale? Would that be acceptable to you? Okay. I'll
Good.
volunteer to do that.
Is there anything else on the council forum?
I got two things. One is, I think our playground down here at the park is getting used a heck of a lot, because I drive this road quite a bit, and there's cars parked down there all the time.
That's great.
I mean, I can't believe it. Then, are we having a sewer meeting tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
At what
Tomorrow,
time?
3 o'clock.
Out there?
No, it'll be here.
Okay. Anything else?
I do have one other thing. We have invited the 3 finalists, engineering finalists for the street project to come on June 13th. The format for the interview process will be 15 minutes to do a proposal each, and 15 minutes of Q&A for each entity.
Okay. I'd like to thank everybody for being here. Thank you for coming and visiting with us about that. If there isn't anything else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll begrudgingly make the motion.
Call for a vote.
Councilman Frederick,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
Johnston.
Yes.
Brennan.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Is that my envelope?